that assumption itself could have a certain price level which is not realistic. Okay? And then when it comes to crude, we are always using Brent crude as our benchmark. Okay? Who says that we import Brent crude? For all we know, we are importing Quara. So the benchmarks we use in our price build-up, it's itself problematic. It is not real. They are assumed, and the assumptions we need to be convinced about why we make those assumptions and so on. Okay. So there's nothing in this budget which indicates that petroleum prices are going to be stabilized or they're going to come down. There's nothing like that. It won't happen. You understand? Now we are told the government is going to acquire so many acres of land and put them under cultivation and so on. Please stop telling us these Kokuanansi stories. We've been on planting for food and jobs for how many years? No result. Then you come up with another promise, another contraption of acquiring so many acres of land and putting them under cultivation. So the last 6 years, you didn't know that you have to put land under cultivation in order to improve the food supply situation, in order to bring down prices. All of a sudden, you wake up on the road to Damascus and then you realize that this is what we have to do. And please stop playing with us. We ain't kids anymore. Stop playing with us. They should pack that aside. You understand? Now, I think that the circumstances within which this budget was also presented to Parliament are important factors. They speak volumes about the character of government and perhaps also the character of opposition. This budget was presented by Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta at a time when both sides of the House of Parliament had indicated to us that the man is so incompetent that they will have nothing to do with him. Both sides, we were sitting at somewhere. We didn't go to them. We didn't ask them for statements. They willingly came to us, both sides, and said, this man is so damn incompetent, we will not have anything to do with him. And then in the end, he read the budget. He read the budget to both sides. Master, can you believe what is happening in our country? He read the budget. And when he finished, both sides were given the opportunity to make statements. Did you hear the statements they made? Both sides, Patriotic Party, the issue yesterday, they say, what? We said that the man is Patriotic Party, the issue yesterday, they say, what? We said that the man is bad, but if NDC too says that he's bad, then he should stay. I mean, can you believe it? That we, New Patriotic Party, we know the man is bad, he cannot perform. But NDC too says he's bad, though. So if NDC says he's bad, then we are changing our position. The man is very good, he should stay. What is this? Huh? Now, we are told that the majority side actually had a meeting with the president and the party. And in the process, the president agreed that the finance minister must go. But then he said, no, wait a minute. Yes, he must go. But allow him to same level of incompetence to negotiate a deal with the IMF. Where are we going? I have never said that this finance minister is incompetent. You came and told us that he's incompetent. And you said that that incompetence is so impressive. You are so impressed with his incompetence that the man must prepare the budget and present it with his incompetence and carry on with his incompetence. Yesterday, I was speaking to a friend of mine from the ruling party. He says, oh, don't worry. After 2 months, he will go. If he is that incompetent, he should stay on for 2 months with that level of incompetence. I don't believe what is happening. Okay? So even the circumstances under which this whole business, has been carried out, is troubling. It's worrying. I heard MPs, new patriotic party MPs, tell us that, look, they are taking these measures against the finance minister because their constituents are angry. The people who voted them, who gave them their mandate, are angry. They won't change. If they don't do that, they can't go back to their constituents. Look at the game they are playing. So now they hope to go back to their constituents and tell them what? Oh, my goodness. Massa, Ghana. Sometimes I look at my country and I begin to wonder whether this is the same Ghana. Same Ghana for which Sergeant Ajete and others died. The same Ghana that Nkrumah ruled. The same Ghana? Is it the same Ghana? Sometimes I just wonder. I just wonder. Minority, they prepare a motion of censure against the minister. They file it and so on. Speaker looks at it, says, oh, no. This is actually a criminal court. Criminal proceedings. So the minister must be able to defend himself, must be able to bring his lawyers and so on. So committee, go and look at it, allow lawyers to come and defend the minister, and then after that come to, and then let's look at it. This man, Kwaku Azan, have you seen what Kwaku Azan has written? This is not a criminal process. The motion of censure is not a criminal process. It is a purely political process. And yet we are told that it is the equivalent of a murder trial. So, what can I say? I'm not in parliament. My mouth doesn't go far, and so on. So we will sit and watch. You continue displaying. What everybody has to understand, including us, is that the people of Ghana are not fools. The people of Ghana, they know what is good. They can distinguish between what is good and what is bad. The people of Ghana have feelings like any other people. The people of Ghana have feelings like the people of Sri Lanka, like the people of Lebanon, and so on. The people of Ghana can tell good from bad if we continue playing with the patience of the people of Ghana. If we continue playing with the welfare of the people of Ghana, at some point, the people of Ghana will show their revulsion. Maybe at that point, it may be too late for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for concluding on that note. Well, so I think I should conclude our discussion on the budget for now, because we have to move on to the next issue. I don't know whether my mandatory break will have to be taken, because I've already taken one break. But let's take a break. We'll be right back. When we'll come back, I'll go through a few messages, and then we'll move on to the next discussion.
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer.
Are you put off by the very low standards that most accommodation facilities offer?
Well, it's time to heave a heavy sigh of relief.
Collindale's Court is here. Located at Birch Street, Community 12 off the Tema Motorway, Collindale Court offers you top-of-the-range short and long-stay accommodation steeped in luxury.
Our 2-bedroom apartment is what you and the family need for your weekend getaway, while our 1-bedroom apartment gives you a peaceful ambience to work from home.
Our rooms are fully furnished, air-conditioned, and come with all you need at your beck and call. A well-stocked kitchen, dining area, Wi-Fi, DSTV, Netflix access, and an endless list of other amenities. Thus, creating a unique sense of place far exceeding your expectations.
Our gym and swimming pool exactly suit your preference for keeping fit and recreational activities. We also have a very spacious conference room for your business meetings.
Collindale Court offers even more. Our rooftop bar is a thing of scenic beauty, giving you and your loved ones a bubbly nightlife of music and dance. Call us now to make your reservations.
0243 186017 or 0244 258 332. Collindale Court.
Exceptional comfort for beautiful people.
Admissions. Super credible college.
He has labored.
Thank you very much for sticking and staying with us on the Matter of All Talk shows, Alaji and Alaji. We'll move on to the discussion on the Saglami housing project, because the suggestion by government is that it will be given to a private developer. The minority group on the Works and Housing Committee actually went there this week, and they said they were stunned by what they saw, the theft of property there, even though there was security on site. We'll talk about that, and let me start with Beatrice this time around on the discussion.
The issue about Saglemi is just consistent with how the MPP have seen the resources of this nation. If you look at the tradition of the MPP, it appears to me that they view public properties as properties which ordinarily should be for family and friends. There's a reason sometimes you would find them engage in ventures that seek to enrich themselves more than the entity or the people they seek to govern. Why do I say that? So now we have more than 1 million housing deficit issue. We have more than what should be the threshold. There is also an issue of government intervening. In fact, President Kufuor started with affordable housing. We didn't see the light of it. Some were completed. We didn't see others left at various stages. And I have always said that I wish that the affordable housing project were completed and then finally, allocated when the NDC government was in power. But the NDC government took a decision that to deal with the housing deficit, there was a need to engage in some housing project. So the NDC government set out to build a 5,000 units for what I believe should be the middle class or even the lower middle class to afford it. Now, for me, the most exciting thing about the Saglami was that we didn't choose to demolish judges or to demolish other buildings in the center of town, or to even locate it in the traffic-prone area where people would be, the scarcity of land would be an issue. But in line with expanding township and having regard to the fact that there was an original plan for that Community 25 Ningo Pram Dorwenya stretch to be expanded, which is being expanded now, there was a need for the project to be located there. And I have been to the site and I have seen the project. So the project commenced. I would not want to talk about the content, the contractual obligations, the change in scope in the project, because it is a subject matter in court. But the project commenced and about 1,500 housing units have been put up as we speak. We in NDC believe that there were no procurement breaches. There were no issues of corruption associated with the project. There never has been. And anybody who is versed with real estate will appreciate that sometime when you change the scope of a project, coupled with the prices of building materials, you are likely to face some challenges. So you always go back for either an addendum to the contract or changes, whichever way. But I will not want to talk about that because it's a subject matter in. But even if, and I say this advisedly, that the NPP government were of the opinion that there were some issues with the project, the policy rationale for the project was for government to sell the prices of the houses at the subsidized cost with some very flexible payment plan for citizens. Because I've heard the argument of people say that if you look at the way the cedi had depreciated now, if the citizens were paying for that, it would appear that the prices of the property would have been high. But even the payment plan and the mode of payment is what may differentiate the Saglemi project from if you were buying a property from private investors. So if you said you had issues and people are in court facing prosecution, I would say persecution, what prevents government from even selling the building or the properties in the state in which they were, assuming without admitting that government was not willing to invest more funds in it? Why can't government just give the properties in the current state? Because you see, even if you are buying properties from private developers, there are stages of the properties that are sold. Some people will sell the properties at the time when they had done furnishing, fitting and everything. Some people will sell the property to you for you to come and do the fitting to fit your style. So there are various ways of acquiring real estate or properties in the world over. So why can't government just say that because government has already invested in it, we are going to give the property in the state in which they are to citizens to buy and do the fitting? Because if you go to the place, and I have seen videos of the places, some of them are fitted, some of them are not fitted, some of them have been completed, some of them have not been completed. So why can't we take a decision? But the complicity and the duplicity for me about this NPP government is that not too long ago, we were told that Saglemi will be handed over to the military for the management and use by the military. So what happened? Why the sudden shift? Should we be surprised? I would not be surprised that this Saglemi will be synonymous with the PDS. This Saglemi will be synonymous with the Frontiers Health. This Saglemi will be synonymous to Ejapa, because it is a certain consistent pattern of this government that every state resource must be captured for the use and benefit of friends and families of this government. Because trust me, this private developer, by the time you investigate, it is either somebody who is so close to the president, so close to the family, either the finance minister or a friend, like we've seen in the Frontiers Health, that the citizens of this nation were robbed $150 for a COVID test that a state institution like Noguchi could do. So why can't we as a people, or why can't the NPP government just take a decision and say that there was a policy rationale? Because private investors were just selling properties at very astronomical rate, the government had to intervene. Admittedly, the government or no government can fulfill the whole housing deficit at a time. But that is the step we see. So you have come, you have not taken any initiative to build and help in closing the deficit gap for housing. The little you've come to meet, you are giving it to private developer. I just can't understand. So assuming somebody has even caused a financial loss to the state and the property has not been delivered in the manner in which the government wanted, by giving it to a friend or a private developer, the mischief will be cured? That's the question I want to know. Okay. So I think that we should change our orientation. Ghana Telecom, gone. The NPP government sold almost every government asset under the guise of being capitalist. In this government, they are not selling, they are capturing through third parties as private developers. And so I think that it is one of too many of the government attitude to take for themselves state property under the guise of selling to private developers.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Lawyer David, I met a person quite a long text message. Says, I salute your studio guest. Beatrice talks about Zambian electors doing the needful by voting out their non-performing government, and things turned around. Ghanaians did the same in 2020, but unlike Zambia, where the law and independent institutions of state work, in Ghana, the unpopular president and his clueless team had the support of the EC and other partners made up of parasitic elites to entrench themselves in power. You see the effects of maintaining power at all costs, and by all means, all the powerful institutions and personalities who aided the conspiracy against the voters are part of the problems we are going through today, and their consciences shall be the true judges. Did I hear you to be discussing a budget? Was there a budget? None was actually read. It was all a mini State of the Nation's address. The budget had no theme, no in-depth appreciation of the problems and deliverables. It was a parody of figures and lamentation, hopelessness and total loss of direction. And the shocking thing is that the president preferred flying to Qatar to watch football to remaining at home to sympathize with Ghanaians. There's a lot more, but that's all I can read for on the show. And then this from Ambassador Sampiale says that the NPP has been involved in criminal incompetence, fraud, and falsehood. It's now established beyond all reasonable doubt. My concern really is what will happen in 2023 when most of our external debts will mature. And of Prince Henry Kofoedo also says, which serious government will collapse its local banks and project foreign banks if not for political expediency? Nana Akufo-Addo and Ken Ofori-Atta chose to close GM banks and others just for data bank to progress. Ken Ofori-Atta is in a serious state, should be facing trial now, but under Nana Akufo-Addo, it will never happen. Solo.
Sana, let's set the record straight. The NDC government sold more state assets than any government ever existed. So let us put that one in proper perspective before our sister begins to throw dust into the eyes of viewers and listeners. The whole project of Saglebe, I mean, that is the worst thing that could have ever happened to this country. There is insincerity of people in authority, and that is why we are where we are today. Anybody that knows about buildings would never have cited the project at Saglebe, even in the first place. But what I've realized as a country is that in our difficulty, people that are put in positions tend to take advantage of the people in this country. Saglebe is a typical example. Dumso is a typical example. As a result of Dumso, when the country was seriously fighting for solutions, it ended up in contracts such as pay or take, for which reason today we are having to pay 17 billion a year because we were in difficulty. And once we are in trouble, people feel or thinks they must take advantage of the state.
17 billion a year.
A year. So far, that's how much. Yes, Ghana City.
That's not true.
Which one is not true?
The document put out says total payments.
Total payment. You have is that a thing? How is she going to make any correction here?
No, it's a factual correction.
She's correcting who? It is my time. She has no business whatsoever. If she has any rebuttal,
when you are being factual.
Not to speak
so the 17 billion for what?
It's a total payments till now. That's what the finance minister.
But you know when we started
what
paying,
he reported to Parliament to was under $1 billion. When the question was
$17 billion. It's in dollar. Ghana City. I'm talking about Ghana City, not dollar. Yeah. 17 billion has been paid for the pay or take. If you are not comfortable with that, and that's why I explained to you that in our difficulty, Wicked leaders take advantage of this state. And one such example is when we were in darkness, and instead of solving the problem, they decided to milk the state. It has been known by all that we face a housing deficit of close to 1.2 million. And so, conveniently, the NDC government decided to take advantage of that by embarking on a 5,000 housing project. You remember what Tatachia said about the Seglemi? That when Parliament had approved 5,000, it's my turn.
Yes,
that is my turn. Yes. When Parliament had approved a $200 million facility for a 5,000 housing project, according to Atachia, that very agreement sent to Parliament was altered. That is criminal in nature. And like my sister said, the matter is in court. But I wish the court would also do us a favor by fast-tracking some of these cases. That it was altered to 1,502 housing units. Is it not interesting? And I am very surprised that she is bold to even attribute any wrongdoing to the NPP government. That you go and borrow $200 million from the Credit Suisse Bank to come and construct 5,000 housing units. Already government gives free of charge 300 acres of land for the project to take place. Now we expend 200 million and we are unable to account for even the 1,502 housing units that you are talking about. And we are people bold enough, but I don't blame her, because it is my government that has also allowed this thing to happen. That if you were going to be meticulous to the people of this country, take matters serious, that those that were involved in this Sagleme rot will never be languishing or walking about freely. People steal plantain, and they find themselves behind bars. This is millions of dollars. And you say what? We are now discussing that the NPP government gave, and instead of concentrating because they want to sell to their cronies. Who said they want to sell to their cronies? The project was never completed, and there is no money to complete it. To be able to do so, you must go back and either borrow more. What have we been talking about this morning in our first discussion? The fact that the country is so much debt distress that you cannot borrow more to add onto our debt stock. So people did not treat us well. Look, between Pram or Sagleme, where the project is, to the ministries, you say you want it's going to be an affordable housing project. So by all intents and purposes, it means people in the public sector are supposed to be the ones occupying it. Most of them work within the ministry area. From Sagleme to the ministry area will take you no less than 3 hours if you have used that road before. So why would anybody go and sign such a project there? And on top of that, you shortchange the people of this country by expending the entire $200 million without completing the project. Even the 5,000 you could not give to us. You said 1,502. Even that one you could not complete it for people, or for it to be habitable by the very people you were intended to save out of their current problems. So the NDC never helped this country. The former President John Mahama and his administration never helped us. And I hope and believe strongly that the court that is handling these cases will not do it as any other cases, because we are talking about monies here. We have got to be serious as a country. Now, in terms of whether or not it is a good idea for our government to sell it to a private developer, he said, no. I have said it over and over that Asenso Boachi and his people must not make the mistake. You see, we have allowed a lot of things to slip by shortchanging the people of this country. No, let's not go there. No, let's not go there. Because you see, in typical project financing or building of this nature, even private developers, they do what we call off-plan. The land is there bare. They do artist impression, and people will just go and pay money for them to start from scratch to the end, so that their monies will not be invested. Here we have the structures there. What is left is fixtures and fittings, as well as external works, which does not demand a lot of money to do so. So you have more options, either to do the artist impression and advertise that this is the state of the building. I am selling it at X amount. Bring your money so that we complete and you move in. Or We have a lot of civil servants and public servants who take housing allowance from government, so that we can do offsetting with some of these things. You calculate it for a period of time, then you make it a workstation for some of these public servants. Nobody must, on the author of selling to the private sector, do so, because the purpose for which these projects were implemented was to deal with the issue of affordability. If you give it to the private sector, how affordable would these projects be, buildings be? It will not be affordable anymore. The private sector is always in for profit, and at the end of the day, it is the rich that will go and buy to come and rent it to the poor soul. For us to go and rent it at a very high price, I am not in support of that, because every rich man in this country already has in Accra here already has about 5, 7, 8 houses. Let the poor man also be a house owner. This is not the time to be playing games. We have gone beyond or moved beyond games. But in terms of shortchanging this country, nobody can save the NDC government in this situation. They have done us a great disservice. It is so unfortunate that as a country, do you know how many housing units $200 million can put up? At the time, if we divide the 5,000 units by the $200 million, we were talking about $40,000. So who can come and convince me that $40,000 cannot conveniently put up those buildings over there? Now we have people defending them. And they will do so because it is scratch my back, let me scratch your back. And that is what is annoying me in our politics. Now it's a click. Let us all share. I am in NDP. I have my people in NDC. I finance them, they finance me, and we take the nation hostage. This is not good for the future generation. And unless or until we change that, we will not be anywhere near development. I will conclude it here.
Thank you very much. Just latest report to Parliament. The Ministry of Finance paid a total of 17.31 billion cedis
From when?
over the period of 2017 to 2020 to IPPs and fuel suppliers.
That is part of
IPPs
the take or pay.
as shortfall in capacity payments and excess capacity.
Yes.
In fact, 7 billion went into fuel payments.
It all amounts to 17 billion. That's what we are talking about.
Yeah, I said the period. You were saying 1 year.
Taking advantage of Doomso to shorten the people of this country.
Thank you.
That is the NDC for you.
Well,
that is the NDC party for you.
Let me start from where you have just left off. In terms of this take or pay, I wish Solo here, the MPP, or anybody else can show me one energy provision contract that does not have a take or pay in terms of the capacity. Please go and check at Inchaban, Tico. Go and check the contracts well and come back and let us talk about it. We must understand how an industry works. And then when we critique it, it doesn't matter who is in power, right? But there are a lot of things that are being said at the energy sector which is not right. And we must stop it. How do we say that why do we pay for capacity? Who should come and install a capacity and you choose not to work with the capacity and he makes no revenue for the installation of the capacity? Please. Please.
That is not the argument. And I wish we would have this whole topic to deal with. Because then you are
Yes,
getting away.
yes, yes,
You are getting
yes,
away with
yes,
it. I cannot come in to rebut a lot of things
and
that
I
you are
will tell
saying.
you,
Yes.
I will tell you one thing, that one of the IPPs, which is a private company, I happens to have been the one who negotiated with their partners from Singapore. And even with a private company, there was a take or pay. In there. Please.
You are running away from it because I don't have the time to rebut. So you go with it. Next time you will have a full day to discuss this.
I quickly want to address some issues. My sister did say that this haircut, debt exchange book. In fact, when you say debt exchange program, it means haircut. That is what we have coined and call it haircut.
It has been reported the same day by Bloomberg that the budget was announced. Bloomberg had reported it, saying that the Ministry of Finance has proposed a debt exchange program. That is what we call haircut. So just and then another thing about the approval of e-levy and all that. When you announce revenue handles in the budget and it is approved, does not mean that the imposition of the tax must be rubber stamped, because the imposition of the tax will come in the form of a bill. That is why you have the electronic levy act going to parliament. Are you saying that because the budget has been approved, then the electronic levy act should not be scrutinized by parliament? That's what you are saying. Anyway, I think that at this point with Saglame, it's for me it is very simple. The idea behind Saglame is positive one. No matter what has happened, if we presume that the cost was too much, whatever, it is an asset of the state and we must make a good use of it. I will encourage this government for them not to be accused of taking what fees? Appearance fees.
What is that?
They can choose not to go the route of debt, but rather equity. The people of Ghana can be made to buy into that project and provide enough funding for the project. There is no excuse to say that government cannot raise revenue. Look, the worst performed capital market in terms of the GES, the Ghana Stock Exchange, right, is because there is no activity there. At least if you put Saglame on the Ghana Stock Exchange, there will be some activity. It will revive some confidence in the financial sector. And if you say that placing the project at Saglame is wrong, then I don't think that people from Isawam, Pukwase, that spent over 1.5 hours to get to Accra Central is enough justification for most of us to put our properties in these areas. It cannot be wrong. It cannot be wrong. Please, please, please. You see, you were just telling someone that it is your time. This is my time.
I hear. You are right. You are right.
So allow me.
You are right.
And why have we put so much investment in the Tema motorway extension? It is to facilitate free movement of traffic, and that is the responsibility of government. So Saglame is not too far. People stay way off the city of London, and yet they work in London. And yes, so what stops you from doing that? When you are claiming to have put enough investment in the railway system, that will directly come all the way to Accra Central, and therefore it is not an issue. It is not enough justification to claim that it cannot, government cannot find money to do Saglame. Government can find money. It is there. If government was able to find money and even make so much on the sale of SIC, right, then government can go on the same route and bring in more money, recapitalize Saglame, and even expand it from the 5,000 units. I think I will end.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Before I go to Mr. Pratt, just a message from, this is from Dr. Percy. Says, it is a matter of great irony listening to the MPP's Solomon Owusu carrying Ghana's have a robust import substitution program. The MPP's political forebears, National Liberation Movement, overthrew Nkrumah under CIA direction on 24th February 19, precisely to stop Ghana's import substitution program and so arrest our national independence. Indeed, their new government, the NLC, which made the police movement with council in its name, immediately set up 6-man committee of Ghanaian technocrats for the purpose. The committee was led by the late J.H. Mensah, Executive Director from 1961. He had superintended the preparation of Nkrumah's 7-year development plan. By February 1966, Ghana had in the region of 400 projects. The completed projects deemed immediately profitable were sold to cronies. All part completed projects were abandoned and left to rot. Kutu Echampo will attempt to pick up the pieces through GEHOC, the Ghana Industrial Holding Corporation, but too late. It was left to Jerry Rawlings and the PNDT to deliver the final death blow via the Divestiture Implementation Committee. So that's from Dr. Percy giving us a bit of background on what happened. And you see, some of those things are subject to a lot of intense debates, but that's not a platform. Mr. Pratt.
I mean, there's not much to say about the Saglami housing project. You have 500 units, 5,000 units of housing, which has been left for 6 years to rot. 6 long years to rot. When I went to see the project years back, maybe 5 years ago and so on, and even then, I was amazed at this ultra-modern housing project. The beauty of the streets, the street lights, the storm drains, everything was in place. And I could tell that a lot of thinking had gone into this project. And this project has been left to rot for 6 long years. When members of the Works and Housing Committee visited the place, I saw the videos. The thievery that has gone on there, you know, the fittings which have been destroyed or stolen and so on. And then finally we are told that, look, the project is being handed over to a private developer because under the circumstances, government has to borrow, I think, $140 million more to finish it. And therefore, it will not be affordable, and therefore we should hand it over to a private developer. How does handing this project over to a private developer make it affordable? Somebody must explain to me. And if handing it over to a private developer does not make it affordable, what then is the rationale for handing it over to you know, a private developer? I think that all of this is just a huge scam, and I have nothing more to say.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me say a big thank you to China FM in Akachi on 96.9, Hills FM Adakulo 91.7, Nyawasi Radio Kete Krachi 89.7 FM, Sela Radio in Dabala on 97.1, Diamond FM in Tamale is on 93.7, Bewa Radio in Yendi 106.5, Radio Kitaon Saboba 95.7, Benya FM Elmina 105.7, Cape FM Cape Coast on 93.3, Global FM in Ho is on 105.1, Volta 1 TV. There's also Zeps FM in Zebila on 95.9, True FM 92.5 in Adesu, Lamara FM 89.1 in Tripoli, and Buem 88.7 FM in Jastican. Well, let's move on to, in fact, let's conclude. We have a few minutes. Perhaps we can talk about what is happening at the World Cup at least. Because we faced off with Portugal. Very interesting match, and then we lost 3-2. People blame the penalty, among other things. But we've lost 3-2. We go into our second match with Korea, South Korea. And so I'll take impressions on what we are seeing at the World Cup so far. And start with Solomon also this time.
Well, Sarah, it's very interesting. First of all, let me congratulate the Black Stars for putting us on the world map, marketing the country beyond our shores, because if we were going to pay monies to advertise this country, I'm not sure our current economic situation would have permitted that. And so let me congratulate them on that aspect. In terms of the real football, I wasn't surprised that we lost, because honestly, you know, there was a day that I came here when the squad had not come out, and I predicted to you that definitely Jeffrey Schlupp will not go, Afena Jan will not go, because I had seen the selection. This business of people having their personal interest in the national team, serving their personal interest as against the national interest, is what is always drawing us back as a country. If you look at our group, Senna, Portugal seems to be the weaker team of the three. Not the strongest team. Because if you have a team in the nature of Portugal that is playing Ronaldo, clearly they are playing 10 against 11. Here is a player who does not draw back. So always they are reduced by the fact that he doesn't tackle. He doesn't draw back. And I was expecting the Black Stars to make a good impression by, if for nothing at all, drawing or win against Portugal. When you take on Korea, who are workaholic, they can run 150 minutes non-stop against our players who are always found wanted from the 70th minute, then you would understand where I'm coming from. In terms of officiating, I normally do not want to put much premium on that, because if we are going to go on that route, and if we are going to be sincere to ourselves as Ghanaians, we benefited from the same actions or inactions. You remember our match against South Africa in Cape Coast? That dubious penalty they gave to Ghana. We were clapping for the referee. So it is the law of karma. And I wasn't surprised. Even in the match, people have been complaining about the referee. The very same match we played against Portugal, the referee favored us. You remember Ali Seydou's incident? The one that he headbutt, what's the name? João Felix. That was a second bookable offense. That should have been a red card offense. But he tempered justice with mercy. And so a balanced day. Because I believe that we went into the match not having enough confidence. Because if we watched the first half, we sat back. We wanted them to do their own thing. We respected them so much. We didn't have self-belief that we could take them on. We only decided to take part in the party or play our normal football in the second half when we conceded. And when we conceded, we realized that we had no other option than to fight. And when we did, we equalized. But for, as usual, our lack of concentration in some point in time, that was what led. So let's go into our next matches with a bit of caution. Let's go and play our heart out. But the most important thing is that as a nation, as a football association, as a Ministry of Youth and Sports, we must not be counting on luck always to progress. Football is now a scientific game. Football is now business. Even in those days that we taught people they didn't have PhDs and so on and so forth. We were playing coast football in this country. Accra, Kumasi, Tamale, and so on. That was where a lot of these players progressed into our Division 1, Division 2, the Premier League, and so on. And these coast footballers were the ones feeding into the Starlets, the Satellites, and by extension, progressing to the Black Stars. Now, what do we see? A lot of the players that were playing, some of them I don't even know. I hear they were born outside the country. Yeah. They go and live in somewhere. When they realize that those countries are not recruited them into their national teams, they say they have switched. Switched where? Switched where? It is an indictment on us as a country that we have more than 16 clubs playing football here as Premier League clubs, and from 1 to 11, we do not have a single player playing in the local league who is featuring there. It tells you our local league is rubbish. But the GFA is not there to only supervise the Black Stars. So we must measure their performance against our local league, our coast football or youth development, and also Starlet and Satellite. When we are able to do that, you see the US is going to host the 2026 World Cup. Have you seen the players that they have brought? Young ones. They is to give you the indication that they are preparing them for the next tournament. Is that the case with us? If you check our current squad with those that went to 2014, only the day Ayu is playing in this tournament. He started as the only player who was with the 2014 team. It tells you that we are not organized. Especially from the youth football. They don't want to suffer. They are only interested in joining the Black Stars and then showing to the world that they know how to watch World Cup. No! Let's catch them young so that Ghana football would develop. That is all that I would say.
Thank you very much. We just played one match. The way you sounded so pessimistic.
Let me tell you.
Only one match.
Football is not lacko. I'm telling you. It is about your preparation. We have not prepared.
I would just like to, if you're watching me or listening to me, we played one match. We can win the next two matches. And
you want people, yesterday, people nearly collapsed.
Yes, please, let's at least give them a chance in the two matches. Before I come to me, this is Positive Change Madina Zongo, who says, indeed, from Appendix 2C of the 2021 budget statement, a total of 11.161 billion was programmed for total COVID-related expenditures for 2020. At the end of the year, provisional actual amounts, actual expenditure on COVID-19 amounted to 8.223 billion. This includes expenditures on security, health workers, etc. It is therefore inaccurate. The claim by some government officials the 19 billion cedis was used for COVID-related expenditure. This government cannot engage in reckless expenditures and turn around to blame COVID-19 for their own failures. Ni?
I don't know whether we all watch the same match. First of all, on a lighter note, I will say that the U.S. referee came there to revenge. Yes. For how we scored, defeated them and kicked them out of the World Cup, I think, in 2010. And so for me, I think it's okay. He has had his revenge. But let's say it. I'm one of those people who felt that this team was not going to actually perform. And I hardly know most of the players. But trust me, I think that I'm impressed with their first showing. We should understand that this is one of the youngest teams in the entire tournament. And to pull up such a performance against a well-experienced team, well-experienced coach like Santos, I mean, you cannot ask more of them. What I felt was a challenge to us was the respect we gave to the Portuguese in the first half. And our central defense went so deep to our 18 to the extent that we were just playing half-pack. And all we did in the first half was to defend and hold the Portuguese. It was not good enough. We did not even try them. Leaving Inaki alone at the forward was also not good. At some point, they tried to put Dede Ayew up, but you could see that his main interest was at the midfield, and he was still have to pick balls and distribute. Another thing that went really against us is when we had the equalizer, the first equalizer. Our boys lost concentration for that period. I mean, they were so happy, and I think that Dede Ayew did not do well, being that experience, and this is not your first goal in the World Cup. What I expected of him to have picked the ball straight to the center, and that would have calmed the nerves of most of our players. And I think in that bit of misconcentration, they came back again on top, and you could see that Partey was more of defensive midfield, and he wanted to push up, and that resulted also in the third goal. I think that if you have a strong guy like the Bukari guy, whom I never know, why wouldn't you bring him on from the start? The guy looked superb, very focused, and it looks like somebody who has the posts by his legs. And so I think some few changes should come up. And also about Solo's point of they being born somewhere else and we bringing them in. In fact, the US have the US in there, right? Saudi Arabia has a Ghanaian player in there in the name of Montari. I mean, this is the new order. That's Qatar, rather. I think Saudi Arabia also have another Ghanaian, yes, as part of it. Almost, I mean, that is the new order of football. You would have to put your best on the field. And I think from what I saw, the guy called Seidu also was superb. I mean, I cannot see any right back better than this guy. Even in the Premiership, I don't know any right back better than him. So talking about Schlupp and all that has been reduced by the performance of this gentleman. You could realize that it was after his substitution that they could use his side to actually get the third goal. So I think we will just encourage them. They should put in their best. They should enjoy the game. Then I'm sure we would get to the 160.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Before Seydou Kpebu says, I agree largely with Solo on the selection process. The local players must be given the opportunity as well. I also felt the same because of the monies that go to the clubs when they select a player.
Let me come in there. You see, until I am more into boxing, and trust me, you can have a very good boxer in Ghana who is knocking down almost all his weight. You put that same person somewhere in the US, in Madison Square, the crowd alone will make him lose the fight. So our local players, have we given them that level of exposure?
Okay.
No.
Thank you, Nick.
So we should...
Beatrice. So let Beatrice. Beatrice has the platform. So, yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think that on a lighter note, Sole was complaining about the selection team. Maybe they are learning from the president, being family and friends.
Wow.
So they are also selecting the people they know. And I think the Black Stars, I wish them all the best. I watched the first match. Most people don't know, but me, I love football. I was a football pundit until I found something else. I think that they did a very good job because after the number 12 exposure, we all know that we had a challenge with our team. I think this coach has a future with the team, and we should rather, I rather think there should be a time for us to experiment. I have no expectations of the Black Stars that they will do something great because even as team members, they are now getting to know themselves. My concern really about this Qatar game is why we budgeted $14 million for it when FIFA will be giving us just about $10.5 million. If from what Sole is saying, the strength of the team and where we will land, you know, so why budget so much for it? I watched a video of Joe Biden speaking to the team members on phone, loudspeaker for all the team members. Why did our president have to use so much money to go there and motivate the team members for us to lose? Why did we have to carry party food soldiers? Because I was watching the team and practically I could see a lot of MPP constituency officers in the stadium. I know them. I saw them. A lot of them. So,
give me one.
If you go to how do you call it, Bantama, Asokwa, all those constituency executive staff were there. I saw them. So I think that
who is going?
Yes. And so I think that we should not find you Solo. You were just complaining that anytime there is an issue, you think that the leaders use an opportunity to milk the nation. Yeah. I think that we should not use the football to waste resources because where we find ourselves, I don't think our leaders should even have the soundness of mind to be drinking wine and be enjoying because we are in a very terrible period. So my concern has to do with the money that we've allotted, because if you compare it to other countries, even more advanced countries, we are spending more than how much some of these countries are doing, and I think that it's not the best. But I wish the Black Stars all the best. I don't think that we should put pressure on ourselves. We've had the challenge. If this is the beginning of building a team, if this is a a beginning of seeing what we can do to bring the love back. And I saw the love this time. I saw that almost everybody was in the Ghana jersey. So because of that, I asked a friend to order one for me because I thought, oh, nobody was going to be concerned. But I saw the love was back. President Mahama also had to watch it with a lot of young people. And I think that we should bring back the love because politics has divided us so much. It got to a point in this nation when Solo and his team were in opposition. It was just football that was uniting us. And I think I want to see that love back to be united because we need it in this time. The situation is a bit depressing. So if you look at your press, you get depressed. Maybe when you watch the screen, we'll get to smile with the Black Stars making us proud.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, this one is from Davison. I was saying the coach made a wrong decision by changing the day Ayu at the time he did. He should be careful next time. Davison has sent that. Mr. Pratt.
Well, there are 3 or 4 very simple issues that I saw about the match.
Okay.
And the first is that in the first half of the game, we hardly made it to the 18 box of the opponents, which suggested that we're either deliberately playing a defensive game or that the pressure on us was more than we could contain. And that was a problem. We don't go into a match with no goals to your credit, with no points to your credit, and so on, and play that kind of game. That was number 1. Number 2, the penalty against the Black Stars was obviously, rigged. I mean, I've watched that video over and over again, and there's no way anybody can convince me that it was a genuine penalty. Okay. Now, I don't understand why the referee refused to use the VR. Okay. And he flatly refused to use the VR, and the VR was installed merely for that purpose. And subsequently, I've been told that for all the African matches, the referees have refused to use the VR, which is a problem. And I think that that's something that we needed to watch. Now, the third issue that struck me was that the goal against the Black Stars, the goal against the Black Stars after Abedi and others, after Ayu and others had been taken off the field, was the result of lack of concentration. You could see that the players had lost concentration. Now, it is difficult to tell why players lost concentration, and I think that it is something that has to do with the psychology of the match and so on. This is something that the psychologists of the team, if there's one, and the coach can work on. Loss of concentration can be very, very, expensive. There's been so much talk about the pullout of Ayu, from the match and so on. I think that the coach could have had a good reason. This is a very important match, important, difficult match. In fact, the whole tournament is an important, difficult one. I started screaming that some of the players needed to be taken off when we had about 3 yellow cards. Yeah. You understand? Any sensible coach will think about preserving his best players for the next match. Because the yellow card could come anytime and it could be through no fault of yours and so on. That is the nature of this game. So that could be the reason why they had to be pulled out. To be honest, I'm going to say something that is difficult for me to say, but which nonetheless has to be said. I'm still wondering why anybody is fielding Jordan. I'm still wondering. Maybe they know. Maybe they are the technical people and so on. But the guy appears to be flat-footed, and so on. And I don't know why. So maybe somebody must tell me why he's being fielded all the time. And I say this, reluctantly. I know why I say it so reluctantly. Maybe it's not for everybody's consumption. But I just keep wondering why. Anyway, Masa.
Thank you. I'll use the time to go through a few of the messages on Facebook. Wudeduji says, whilst the president of one of the countries where we have been borrowing from was wishing his country's football team well on phone, I always found it necessary to charter a jet to be there. Do we call this a responsible man. Then he says, this is A.U. Farouk. Then says, no wonder Dr. Bawumia was missing during the reading of the hardships, vapid, nebulous, and mischievous budget. The hardships are just beginning. That's from A.U. Farouk. There's John Sellen, who says, for well over 6 years that MP government has been at the helm of affairs of the country, they couldn't solve this problem, but always blame the NDC government. Very unfortunate. H.A. Wisdom says, more love to you, my learned friend Beatrice. You are a super brilliant lady, which some people need to combine 10 women to match you. God bless you, Beatrice, for your good work. Joseph Tekpe is joining us. Says, tell Uncle Kwesi that a similar penalty was awarded to Ghana against South Africa in the qualification round. So what goes round comes round. Eric Okusafanu says, and one thing which very worrying is in the budget statement is the silence by the finance minister about corruption and our stolen monies, which is part of the problem and the solution. There's also Suleiman Abdurrahim, who says, instead of national budget aiming at wiping the tears of poor people, I think I've read that one. I'm having difficulties accessing the rest of the messages. Seydou Kpebu again comes back, says, when expectations are low, teams perform better. England benefited from this strategy at Euro 2020. Ghanaians must lower their expectations in order to get the best out of the Black Stars. The media has a role to play. That's coming from Seydou Kpebu. Dr. Percy is back. And this one says, not least for the attention of my senior brother Kwesi Pratt, who I have heard on a number of occasions completely overlook the NLM NLC 1996 coup and wrecking mission, which initiated the process of arresting our national independence under US IMF World Bank direction and lay blame almost wholly on Rawlings and the PNDC. The national traitors with their successor Progress Party, which they installed, did most of the heavy lifting in destroying the national capacity. That's coming from Dr. Percy.
Calling the PP a traitors party.
This one is from Midi Gideon, who says, the least we talk about this government, and it is the better for us. I am, however, disappointed in our parliamentarians, more especially the majority side. I think they are only fooling Ghanaians for their selfish gains, as well as their political party, instead of being nationalistic. I got overly dazed having listened to the presentation of the 2023 budget. Ghanaians must expect more hardship going forward. We are getting too timid. There is also Koblavi in Pokwasi Benghazi, who says Kenoforiata's budget is like empty basket, which has nothing to give the ordinary Ghanaians. The budget is full of hardship for Ghanaians, no employment benefits, more taxes, more VAT, etc. Kenoforiata has no strategy to save Ghana's economy. He must leave us alone. That is from him. And then there was one that came in very early from Micah Flu, who is a tax expert. Says, my brother, right from day one, there has not been any exemption on the 100 Ghana cedis threshold for the e-levy. Express Pay Company, which developed the e-levy platform, could not put in the control mechanism to exempt the first 100 Ghana cedis per day from the levy. They could also not exempt the e-levy being charged on transfer of money between two accounts held by the same person. Meanwhile, there's a wholly owned Ghanaian company that can easily develop all these within 1 week. However, because this company does not do politics, they were not given the job. I can tell you, okay, this is coming from Mike Aflu, who sent this to us. Thank you very much for joining us on the show today. That will conclude Alaji and Alaji for today. And we're live on Pan-African television from the studios in Abelimpe, and we're live on Radio Gold and several other affiliate stations across the country. Let me say a big thank you to Comrade Kwesi Pratt Jr., who is the General Secretary of the Socialist Movement of Ghana. He always gives you a lot to think about. In fact, I thought I was the only one who have had issues with this whole idea of our parliament sitting down in committee to do whatever, and then also had issues with the two sides sitting there and listening to the same person. At the end of the day, what he presented was not worth the paper he put forward. So I don't know, but luckily for me, he agrees with me, and he still said it exactly as it should be said. And a big thank you to Beatrice Annan, who is a private legal practitioner, member of the National Democratic Congress, and of course to Ni Yaboyanan, who is a financial analyst and sitting very close to me. is Solomon Owusu, who is a member of the MPP's communication team. Always wonderful to see him on a Saturday morning. My name is Sana Nombo. From the team here at Pan-African Television, we say a big thank you. Wish you the best of the weekend. Have a lovely week. We'll meet you back same time next week.
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the light.